afternoon, and thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. Memorial Day honors the men and women who've died while serving our country. On this Memorial Day, our program touches on a number of things. We'll hear about family and military service. We'll hear about love and suicide. Most of all, we'll hear about courage and compassion. We will hear all these things because of this young man in the picture. Josh Pallotta of Colchester joined the Vermont National Guard in 2009 and was deployed to Afghanistan. In 2014, Josh succumbed to post-traumatic stress and traumatic brain injuries he suffered while proudly serving his country. Josh was 25 when he took his own life. Since Josh's death, family, veterans, and community members have established the Josh Pallotta Fund with the goal of ending veteran suicide. To learn more, I'm joined by Josh's mother, Valerie Pallotta of Colchester. Thanks so much for coming in and talking with us today.
Thanks for having me, Judy.
I just want to say, too, that I really admire you for coming on and being able to talk honestly and openly about this issue, especially when it involves your own son.
Thank you. It's hard, but it's what we have to do. Mm-hmm. We can't fix it until we address it.
So Josh always wanted to serve his country.
He did. I remember when he was probably about 7 years old, I found a note that he had written that said, "I'm going to be a soldier." And ever since then, he wanted to join. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So from the moment Josh joined the Guard, you were finding ways as a parent to also help support him and his fellow Guard members.
I was. Actually, I was pretty scared when he said he was joining the Guard, and, you know, proud, but very scared.
Of course.
Yeah. So I contacted the Guard and I said, you know, what can I do for support? What is there out there? And the family programs directed me to the parent network that they had. And that was an organization that offered support for families, parents of all branches of the military, not just the National Guard. Mm-hmm. So I started attending those meetings, and from there met other moms and dads whose children were being deployed or had been deployed. And from that, we wanted to do something to give back. We, being helicopter moms, as I kind of was, mm-hmm. I just wanted to do something to help our group of men who were in Josh's unit who were coming back. We wanted to set things up before they got home so they would have some support services. So we did a lot of research and found Blue Star Mothers of America, which is a nonprofit veteran service organization that has been around since World War II. Mm-hmm. So we chartered our first Vermont chapter here in 2011, and that's been going really strong since then. And what we've decided to do is focus on financial support for veterans, emergency financial support, mm-hmm. and honoring our fallen soldiers' families, things like that. So,
from what you know, what happened during Josh's deployment that impacted his health and well-being?
So Josh was pretty young. He turned 21 when he was over in Afghanistan, and he had never seen, like a lot of our young soldiers have never seen the likes of what happens on deployment. And he was in a pretty dangerous place. It was combat outpost Herrera, and there were only 100 soldiers there, and it was right along the Pakistani border. And on August 11th, 2 of the soldiers who were in their unit were killed, Tristan Southworth and Stephen DeLuzio. And that really impacted them pretty hard. And I think that was pretty instrumental in Josh's healing when he came home. It just was something that he just couldn't get through. Mm-hmm. He had never really known loss before.
Right. And so you've learned firsthand about post-traumatic stress, not only from your son, but from his fellow servicemen. What do they say about it?
I think it's different for everybody. Some veterans are really crippled by it, and other veterans are really doing amazing. They found the coping tools and techniques, I think, that help them to work through it. A few of the guys in his unit have been suicidal, and thank God they're still here today and really making strides in their recovery. And I think one of the big things is it's not, they don't want to be victims. They don't want to feel like a victim. They've gone through a war. They've done things that they don't want to remember. They've had to see things that they don't want to remember. But I think the being able to work through and having people treat them normally as a normal person is what they want to see, what they want.
Mm-hmm. And so when was the Josh Pallotta Fund started, and what's the goal?
So we started it after Josh died. When he ended his life in 2014, because of my involvement with Blue Star Mothers, we had started receiving a lot of donations. People just wanted to help, and they didn't know how, so they just started to donate money. And through Blue Star Mothers, we set up a separate account and just designated it as for funds for Josh. And then we went through the first 6 months, I feel like, my husband and I, and the family, with shock. And you're numb. And we really decided we wanted to be very thoughtful in what we were going to do with the money, and we wanted to hear from veterans what they wanted and what they needed. So we chartered the Josh Pallotta Fund and set that up as a nonprofit organization. And we're still trying to figure out what our veterans want and need. We don't want to jump into something and start spending money and have it not be effective.
Right. So you're considering a facility.
We are. So when we talk to veterans, specifically veterans who were with Josh's unit, because they're closest to him and he was the one who ended his life, and I wanted to touch them first and see what they felt was needed that could have saved his life, that could help them. And they all said, we just want a place to hang out and be together and play video games. And from there, I had been doing aromatherapy work since 1994, and I knew that there were some complementary and alternative therapies that would help with post-traumatic stress and depression and things like that. So we decided we wanted to develop a facility that was a combination of a wellness and recreation center that would combine the complementary therapies and massage and chiropractic and yoga and meditation, these things that have been shown to be effective for veterans or anybody with post-traumatic stress and depression. And then combine it with a recreation center, having a game room and a video room and a place for studying and peer-to-peer counseling. And then we wanted to have a kitchen in the center to kind of bring everybody together, like a community meal. And we wanted to teach cooking lessons for veterans and just have a place for a veteran to come and just get away. A lot of veterans who are going to school and have families just need a place to get away and study.
Just a timeout.
Just a timeout, yeah. So that's kind of what our vision is. And then we also want to eventually have a place where we can offer gardening and horse therapy and pet therapy and woodworking and farming and things like that. So.
Is it because veterans who are coming back feel an isolation?
I think for Josh, I think he not necessarily felt isolated, but I think because he was injured and he left the Guard and medically retired from the Guard, he lost that brotherhood. And I think when you get to that point where you're not interacting with the brothers that you served with for a year in a very isolated place, and you lose that connection, then you feel that isolation. And I think that was huge.
Do you think it's difficult for veterans to get the support and services they need? What are some of maybe the barriers?
I think it depends on the veteran. I think our VA here in Vermont has done a great job of making progress. And I think with everybody regarding health care, everybody's story is different, and I think that's true for veterans as well. We have veterans who go to the Lake Street, Burlington VA, and the ones in White River, and they're having very great success. And there are others who are frustrated. So I think that's it's a confusing, not a confusing question, but it's an answer that it's hard to answer because everybody's different.
Right, so many individual issues.
Right.
And so how are you raising funds for Josh's house?
So we're doing it by just strictly donations and events. We're looking at doing some grant writing, but we haven't gotten that far yet. I work almost full time too, so this is kind of like my second job working on this. And we have a great committee, but they all have jobs. So we're really slowly trying to do some of these things. But for now, a lot of our fundraising is from events. Yeah, we do a lot throughout the year.
So you and the other leaders of Josh's house are also working on funding that can sustain the cost of running the house as well.
Yeah, and we're really trying to figure out what that is. And I think part of it is having veterans come up with something to do to make money, whether it be doing woodworking and selling the products, or farming or gardening. And that's something that we're looking at experts to help us with. We have a lot of people who are saying, oh, I have a great place for you for Josh's house, and this is a great location. But we only have about $171,000 right now, and I think we need about $1 million to sustain it. So we're looking at ways to sustain the income and pay for it and let it support itself.
Because that's really important to you, that it's going to be an ongoing concern.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't want veterans to have to pay for it. I mean, we've thought about maybe doing a membership program if veterans can afford it. Maybe they have dues that they pay. But yeah, that's the biggest concern for me.
Is it difficult to talk to people and to get people excited about going to an event when you have to talk about the issues of suicide and some of the other significant issues that are facing veterans?
I don't find it difficult. I mean, I find it difficult in that I'm the mom whose son ended his life,
right.
And that's difficult. And it's a balance between the grief and the go, fundraise, let's do this. But when we talk about these events for people, the 14th Star event, it was their largest event, and it happens every year. The Poorhouse has been very supportive, and they get inundated with people. They did a golf tournament for us. The Ray Hadley tournament was for Josh's Fund last year. So it was mobbed. People talk about it, and they want to be involved because everybody has a veteran in their life, whether it's a family member or a neighbor or somebody you know. And they all know that suicide among veterans is very high, and it's something that shouldn't happen. So it's hard to talk about it, but then it's easy to talk about it because I think we're doing a great thing.
What do you hear from other parents?
There are parents who are struggling, and there are parents who are just, let's do this. It's hard because some new parents whose children are now joining the services, being deployed, they're scared. And
right.
I remember I was there. And sometimes it's hard for me to reach out to them because I don't want them to feel like my son experienced a horrible deployment. He lost buddies, he came back and struggled with post-traumatic stress and then ended his life. And for me, that's a hard, fine line to walk because I don't want somebody to be scared because of what happened to Josh. And I do think there are ways to help prevent that. I do think setting them up with coping skills as soon as they return or before they're returning. And I think the military is doing a better job of that. I know the National Guard, I think since Josh's death, has really worked hard on pushing the resiliency training, and I think it's some of the veterans are like, oh, I'm tired of resiliency.
Yeah.
So I think they're learning from this, and I think they're making things happen. So I think parents, if they get involved and they talk to other parents, I think that's the best.
Now, you have a website, too, that has a lot of information. Maybe you could tell folks how they can find that.
We do, sure. It's joshpallottafund.org. It's, if you just Google, it's joshpallotta.org, and we have a lot of information on the website. Our contact info is on there, our mailing address. We have a survey out now. We're trying to gather information on what veterans want and need. So if you're a veteran and you haven't completed the survey, please do it to help us out so we can figure out how we can support you.
We've got about a minute left. Anything you want to leave us with, a thought?
I think it's important not, like I said before, not to treat a veteran who has post-traumatic stress as a victim. I think that's huge. I think they don't want you to feel sorry for them. And I think it's one thing to say, I support the troops, but get involved and find a way, whether it be veterans with post-traumatic stress or care packages, just get involved. It doesn't take a lot of time. And the main thing, I think, is be compassionate.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Judy.
You can help support Josh's House for Military Veterans. Donations can be sent to the Josh Pallotta Fund, P.O. Box 542 in Colchester. The zip code is 05446. You can also contribute online by going to the website on your screen. It's joshpallottafund.org. While Memorial Day honors veterans who lost their lives, it's also a holiday that marks the unofficial start of summer. And with summer comes Vermont ice cream. For more than 40 years, from 1950 to the early 1990s, the UVM Dairy Bar served the public, and it provided students an education in dairy science. In 2017, UVM opened a new dairy bar. And of course, it's the kind of story that could only be made in Vermont. Here's Across the Fence's Keith Silva.
Really good ideas are immortal. The story of the UVM Dairy Bar is a lot like the ice cream that's served there. Rich, rewarding, and 100% Vermont. When the Dairy Bar at the Davis Student Center served its first scoop in 2017, it was returning to a long-held and well-loved campus tradition. The first Dairy Bar opened at Kerrigan Hall in 1950. You could find sandwiches and coffee on the menu, but the signature products were milk and ice cream made from the school's dairy cows. More than a place to grab a quick bite, the Dairy Bar was also a classroom. Students learned the science behind milk processing and the business of making and selling value-added products. The Dairy Bar closed in 1995 due to rising costs and the changes in food safety policies. It may have been gone, but the Dairy Bar has never been forgotten.
I remember at the time for 50 cents you could get a hot fudge sundae, and it was just a dynamite experience, and so I'd have at least one or two a week, and that was always the high point of the week.
Tom Vogelman is a member of the UVM class of 1974, and now the Dean of the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences.
You know, in these positions you travel around the state and you talk with people, and even though people knew I was a plant biologist, teaching biology courses, they'd always sort of work the conversation around to, you know, why did that dairy bar ever go away? Because it was such a wonderful thing. So prior to me being dean, I heard about it. And then when I became dean, I really heard about it. So it was something that people really expressed so much interest in bringing back. We figured, well, why not?
If the decision to reopen the Dairy Bar was easy, the effort to make this more than a vanity project would require coordination, connections, and cream. One thing that hasn't changed since the 1950s is that UVM continues to manage a herd of dairy cows. CREAM is the Cooperative for Real Education in Agricultural Management. It's a year-long class that puts UVM undergrads in charge of a 50-cow milking herd. All the ice cream served at the UVM Dairy Bar is made with milk from these cows. The students have even named a few flavors of their own, like Sweet Cream and Melody's Mint Chocolate Chip. The milk goes from the farm to the St. Albans Cooperative Creamery to be turned into an ice cream mix. With the source and the processor locked down, now it's only a matter of finding someone to make the ice cream. If only there was someone from those old Dairy Bar days that still made ice cream in Vermont. If only.
I actually started making ice cream with my dad when I was around 10 years old, so which would be 1950, 52. So by 1962, when I started school, we were making ice cream Saturday mornings instead of watching cartoons.
Howard Wilcox runs Wilcox Premium Ice Cream with his children Christina and Craig. Their family has been in the ice cream business since 1928.
It is really very rewarding for me as a person to graduate from UVM and now be able to manufacture a value-added product for them and return it back to the students. Because when I went to school, that's what we did. You know, we made it at the hall and they came and ate it.
While he was at UVM, Howard received some valuable advice that he continues to follow today.
I think it was Dean Miller, was Dean of Agriculture, and he said, "We won't teach you everything you need to know, but hopefully we teach you where to find what you don't know." So I always remember that from the day that I met him, and I've tried to use that in everything that I do.
At their facility in East Arlington, the Wilcoxes make about 80,000 gallons of ice cream a year. Some of the company's most popular products are their limited batch flavors, like White Mountain Raspberry and Sweet Cream Caramel Apple. For Christina Wilcox, these one-of-a-kind flavors speak to her father's love for making ice cream.
As my father says, you design an ice cream product. He's flavoring it. We're deciding, is it too much? Is it too little? I really think my dad is the master of flavoring. He wants to take you on a ride, you know, as you're experiencing the ice cream. He also really wants you to taste the ice cream, not a massive level of sweet inclusions. He wants you to taste ice cream.
It gives me the feeling that I can make something that really has my touch to it because I've flavored the ice cream for all these years. It's just been a passion, and I really enjoy doing it, and I'm enjoying creating new flavors.
One of the flavors being made by Wilcox for UVM is Catamount Tracks. It's a sweet cream ice cream filled with fudge swirls and peanut butter cups. For Howard, the only thing better than creating new flavors is working with his family.
I'm fourth generation, and my son Craig and my daughter Christy are the fifth generation, and now I have sixth generation, which is my grandson Austin and my grandsons Cole and Owen. And this summer when we were making ice cream, there was 5 of us making ice cream and 3 generations. So it's really very rewarding to be able to pass the torch to other generations and to show them some of the things that I have learned. I have already found there's things they have learned that they incorporate. So this is very exciting and very important to us to do this.
To complete the circuit, Howard's son, Craig, delivers the ice cream to the dairy bar. His family's legacy and his dad's connection to the school make his stop at UVM a special delivery.
It's a piece of my past, it's from the time I've been a little kid. I've been involved in it with my father, whether it's making ice cream or on the truck delivering with him, and, holidays and summers. And it's a really neat experience to think that, my father made ice cream here, and then, so yeah, it's pretty neat to see it come around full circle again.
The new UVM Dairy Bar fits with the phrase, everything that's old is new again. But there's more to this story than bringing back a part of the past.
It's one of these unique stories that I think we can tell in Vermont. We have, I would say, a deep respect for connections, and this is a connection that goes back decades. And what that allows you to do is to take on difficult projects and make them happen. Well, I think Vermonters have a very well-developed sense of place. Because we had this long tradition of having a high-quality dairy bar, that was something that they all related to. It was something that was Vermont. I think it's really important for people to be able to connect food with place. As a land-grant institution, we have a long tradition of doing that. So recognizing this as an opportunity, we're very fortunate to work with several partners to bring the dairy bar back. And we'll see where it goes. It's been very successful, but it's just a beginning.
Cultivating connections and uniting communities with ice cream. In Burlington, I'm Keith Silva with Across the Fence.
Joining me now is Kate Finley-Woodruff. Kate is an Associate Dean in UVM's College of Agriculture and Life Sciences and a driving force behind the university's new dairy bar. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
When did the new dairy bar make its debut?
So we started talking about ice cream at UVM again just about a year ago, and we started looking at the community partners and the availability of processing, and we certainly had the milk, but we had a lot of steps to go, and we were fortunate to have wonderful partners in the process. Late spring of last year, we were notified that there was an opportunity to bring back the dairy bar as a physical location, and things just went from there. Spent the summer planning flavors, working with Wilcox and our various partners, and we shipped our first milk mid-August, and the dairy bar opened August 28th.
Is it open to the public?
It is open to the public. It's open during university hours, so it's closed during the holidays and so forth, but the public is more than welcome, and we would love to have you come back and try some of our new UVM ice cream.
And so how important is it to have Howard Wilcox, the ice cream maker, involved? And also a UVM alum.
Sure, absolutely. Howard's an icon to the UVM, or to UVM, but also to the Vermont ice cream and dairy industry. And it wouldn't be the same story without Howard. To know that you have someone who is making your ice cream that really understands the roots of that ice cream and the recipes, and was involved with, some of the original production, actually is still using the inclusion machine that was part of the equipment from our original dairy bar. The story just can't get better. And the quality and the commitment, and having his son Craig delivering the ice cream, as Dean Vogelman mentioned, it's a sense of place and connections, and it's really a lot of what goes into the brand and the product that we now make.
Now, this is also an economic development piece involving a host of players, including the university's dining services, Sodexo. What's their role in this new dairy bar?
Well, as I said, every partner is critical to this happening, and Sodexo UVM Dining is no exception. They have been terrific to work with and pulling this together. They're operating the dairy bar within their dining area, so they've done a terrific job featuring the ice cream as well as smoothies, which are made with Cabot yogurt and Cabot whey powder. As you know, the Cream Herd is an Agrimark member, so we are members of the co-op. And then St. Albans Co-op as well, making the mix for us, all coming together. And Sodexo has made a commitment of purchasing local, real food. 20% of what we consume at UVM by 2020. They've already surpassed that goal. So now we're looking at 25%. And it's a great commitment. They're willing to work with us on flavors. The maple, Proctor Maple Cream is our maple syrup we're making at the Proctor Farm. And to have their partnership and their commitment has really been a big part of the success.
Well, you grew up in Vermont, and I know you have memories of the old dairy bar. What are you most looking forward to at this new dairy bar?
So so the original stools from the dairy bar are actually on display and used every day as a study area for our current students in Davis. And yes, I spent quite a bit of time in my undergraduate studies in that dairy bar. I'm excited that students will have a little bit of a story to tell of their own, and will have a better understanding of how that food is made and that connection to that food, and just have a little fun. And I think we're going to have a lot of fun with this project, and the sense that it belongs to all of us, and that it's a fun story for our generation of students today, as well as many of our alum who I hope will come back and try some of our ice cream.
The dairy bar is closed for today's holiday. It reopens tomorrow with its regular weekday operating hours of 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. That's our program for today. Thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. I'll see you again next time on Across the Fence.